Welcome to the Capital Quality Framework webinar for the preschool age PreK only framework. My name is Sarah Hofkazang, a program specialist in the OSSI Division of Early Learning. On our agenda for today, we will be going over the revised timeline for the 2018-2019 Capital Quality Rating and Designation process. We will also discuss the Capital Quality Rating and Designation, and we will conclude with next steps. Firstly, the revised timeline. OSSI will complete the 2018-2019 Capital Quality Rating and Designation process for all child development facilities participating in Capital Quality. That's Pilot, Group 2, Group 3, and Group 4, according to the revised timeline shown in Table 1 on this slide. For reference, the previous timeline is also shown and marked with strike-through. In fall of 2019, the Capital Quality Designation will be determined for all participants in Capital Quality. Also in fall of 2019, the tiered reimbursement associated with the subsidy program will change only if the facility's designation is higher. However, the hold harmless policy will end and tiered reimbursement associated with the subsidy program will fully align to the facility's designation, whether that is higher or lower, in fall of 2020 for Pilot and Group 2, fall of 2021 for Group 3, and fall of 2022 for Group 4. We're now going to move into the Capital Quality Rating and Designation, and joining us is Dr. Bonnie McIntosh, the Director of Policy Planning and Research for the OSSI Division of Early Learning.
Hello, thank you. So first we're going to talk about the Capital Quality Rating and Designation definitions, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So the first definition is the word framework. This word refers to the category based on the type of setting, either a home or center-based setting, and the age group of the children served, ranging from birth to age 5. The framework is also used in combination with the metric that informs the way in which the rating is calculated when determining the Capital Quality Designation. The metric is the instrument or indicators used to assess the performance in the area defined and is also referred to as a measure. The floor, which you see there indicated in red, is the minimum value for which any points are awarded for all metrics and indicates the minimum level of performance acceptable for a program to receive points in the Capital Quality Rating System. This will be indicated in red throughout the presentation. The target, which is indicated in green, is the value at which the maximum points for a metric are awarded, and this indicates the desired level of performance in achieving the stated outcome in the Capital Quality Rating System. This will be indicated in green throughout the presentation. The rating refers to the numeric score and is on a range from 0 to 100 points, which is earned each year upon calculating the facility's scores from each of the metrics according to the formula for the framework. We are going to show you how these ratings are calculated later on in this presentation. The designation is the facility's level of quality based on points earned. There are 4 designations in the Capital Quality System: developing, progressing, quality, and high quality. Facilities can also be designated preliminary when they are still in the process of being rated to determine the Capital Quality Designation of developing, progressing, quality, or high quality. During the 2018-2019 program year, there were more than half of our facilities in the District of Columbia that were participating in Capital Quality were birth to 5 programs, 55.27% of these facilities. 22.78% of the facilities were child development homes or child development expanded homes. 8.02% of the facilities were preschool age or PreK only facilities, and 13.92% of the facilities were infant and toddler only. On this slide, we see the age group of the facilities, age group that are served in the facilities, along with the measure or metric that is used during the observation. So starting on the left side, we see that infant and toddler only facilities would be observed by the Infant and Toddler Rating Scale Revised, or ITERS-R. Facilities that serve preschool age or PreK only age children would be observed by the Classroom Assessment Scoring System, Class PreK. Facilities that serve birth to 5 would be observed by both the ITERS-R and the Class PreK. And child development homes or child development expanded homes would be observed by the Family Child Care Environment Rating Scale, called FICRS-R for short. So as I just said on the previous slide, the Infant Toddler Environment Rating Scale Revised is called ITERS-R for short, and the Family Child Care Environment Rating Scale Revised is called FICRS-R for short. And both of those are different types of the Environment Rating Scale, which we also refer to as the ERS. We also have facilities that are observed using the Class Assessment Scoring System for PreK or Class PreK. All of these measures have floors and targets that are research-based. The Class PreK, which is used for facilities that have preschool age and PreK only, such as those that are attending this webinar. The Class PreK measures the quality of teacher-child interactions in preschool classroom settings. The class metric is comprised of 3 domains, each with its own floor and target. These are emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. Each domain is comprised of dimensions that are scored on a scale of 1 to 7, with higher scores for each domain that indicate higher quality. On this slide, I'm going to walk you through each domain and show examples of what it would look like in each classroom at different ranges of the measure. So at lower scores, and each domain for class has different floors and different targets. So I will describe each one of those as we walk through this slide. So for emotional support, when the observers come in the classroom, what they're looking for are that these teachers' efforts to support children's social and emotional functioning. So they're looking for things like teacher sensitivity and emotional connections. The emotional support domain has a floor of 4.5. Again, each of these domains are scored on scales of 1 to 7. So when classrooms have scores that are closer to the floor, there is some evidence that the teachers and children share warm, supportive relationships, yet teachers are only sometimes aware of children who need support or attention. In classrooms with higher levels of emotional support and higher scores on the emotional support domain, there is evidence of frequent positive communication between teachers and children. Teachers consistently are flexible and go along with children's ideas and organize instruction around children's interests. For the classroom organization domain, this measures classroom-level organization with examples like behavior management and routines. This also has a floor of 4.5. In classrooms that have lower scores on classroom organization, we would see some evidence that rules and expectations may be stated clearly, but are enforced inconsistently by the teachers. In classrooms with higher scores, around the target of 6, There is consistent evidence that teachers are proactive, they monitor the classroom effectively to prevent problems from occurring, and they focus on positive and making use of subtle cues. The third domain for class is instructional support, which measures the ways in which teachers effectively support cognitive and language development in classrooms. These are things like language modeling and asking open-ended questions. For the instructional support, please note the different floors and targets. The floor for instructional support is a score of 2. In these classrooms that have lower scores on instructional support, closer to the floor, we see evidence that teachers rarely provide scaffolding and they ignore problems in understanding. The feedback to children is often perfunctory. So we might hear responses that are as simple as yes or no. That's right. That's wrong. When we see classrooms that have scores that are closer to a score of 4, which is the target for instructional support, and I want to remind you that these are scored on a scale of 1 to 7, we see evidence of occasional use of discussions that promote analysis and reasoning, and there are sometimes feedback loops that promote exchanges, but other times there are not. If classrooms were to have higher scores, closer to 6s and 7s, we would see much more frequent occurrences of these actions that, in terms of discussions that promote analysis and reasoning, and much more prolonged feedback loops. So observations occur every year, and the capital quality rating is calculated by using 70% of the current year's score and 30% of the previous year's score. Once we have calculated your scores from each year and have your capital quality rating, that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is on a scale of 0 to 100 points, we then can determine the designation. So as we see on this slide, if facilities have earned, if they have below the floor on all subscales, then facilities will earn a designation of developing. If facilities have earned between 0.01 and 33.33 points across all subscales, then they will earn a designation of progressing. When facilities earn between 33.34 points and 66.66 points across all subscales, they will earn a designation of quality. And when facilities earn between 66.67 points all the way up to 100 points across all subscales, they will earn a designation of high quality.
Now we're going to move into a discussion of how the capital quality rating is calculated for facilities in the preschool age and pre-K only framework. And joining us is Gus Warren in the OSSI Division of Data Assessment and Research.
Thank you, Sarah. So, as my colleague mentioned, the capital quality rating for the preschool age pre-K only framework is determined using each of the 3 class domains that were just described, so emotional support, classroom organization, instructional support, and instructional support, for both the current year and the previous year relative to the targets and floors. In the next few slides, we'll be looking at an example facility to demonstrate how class scores are calculated into a rating and then ultimately assigned a designation. First, I want to provide an overview of how the points are allotted and determined. This graphic illustrates how points are created from the current year and previous year. The first row at the top shows the total points range from a possible 0 to 100 total points. The second row shows the breakdown by year. as previously mentioned, a facility can earn a maximum of 70 points for the current year and a maximum point for the previous year. Below that, the third row shows that all this facility's points come from the scores from each of the 3 class domains. For each domain, emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support, designated there as ES, CO, and IS, a facility can earn a maximum of 23.33 points for the current year and a maximum of 10 points in the previous year. The fourth and final row shows the calculation per domain. We start by taking the maximum amount of points that a facility can earn and apply it as a weight, so 23.33, and then multiply that by the result of the difference between the current year score and the floor divided by the target minus the floor. And then we do a similar process for the previous year score, except for this process we weight by 10 instead of 23.33. So for this hypothetical facility, we've displayed the by domain, by class domain, the current year scores and the previous year scores along with the targets and floors for the corresponding domains. So on the left, we can see that the current year score for emotional support at this facility is 5.5. In the previous year, it was 5. And for emotional support, the target is 6 and the floor is 4.5. For classroom organization, in the current year, the facility earned a score of 6.1, and in the previous year, the facility earned a score of 6.3. And again, the targets for this domain are 6, and the floor is 4.5. For instructional support, this facility scored 2.56 in the current year and 2.0 in the previous year. And again, the target is 4 and the floor is 2 for instructional support. And below that, we have the calculation formula for each of domains as we just demonstrated in the previous slide. So to start, we will calculate points for each class domain. So we'll start with emotional support. So we take the current year class score for emotional support, which is 5.5. We subtract that from the floor, which is 4.5, and we divide that by the difference between the target, which is 6, and the floor, which is 4.5. So the difference between the current year score and the floor is 1.0. And then the difference between the target and the floor is 1.5. So dividing those two numbers and multiplying it by the weight, 23.33, we end up with a current year class emotional support of 15.55. Now, doing the same process for the previous year, we take the previous year score, which is 5, and we subtract it from the floor, 4.5, which is a difference of 0.5. And we divide that by the difference between the target, which is 6, and the floor, which is 4.5, which results in 1.5. So the difference between, or the quotient between 0.5 and 1.5 multiplied by 10 is 3.33. So in this case, this facility earned 3.33 points for the previous year in emotional support. So to get the overall points earned for this domain, we take the current year points earned, which is 15.55, added to the previous year points earned, which is 3.33. So that means that in this example, this facility earned 18.88 points for emotional support. Then, next, we turn to the second domain, which is classroom organization. And using the exact same process, we take the facility's current year score in classroom organization, which is 6.1, minus the floor, which is 4.5, and the difference between those is 1.6. And then we take the difference between the target of 6 and the floor of 4.5, which is 1.5. So now dividing those two numbers, and then again multiplying by the weight, we get a number of 24.89. Now, because the maximum amount of points that a facility can earn in the current year for a class domain is 23.33 points, that facility is awarded 23.33 points instead of 24.89. Then, again, turning to the previous year, we take the previous year classroom organization score, which is 6.3, minus the floor, which is 4.5. This equals 1.8. And then again, we take the difference between the target of 6 and the floor of 4.5, which is equal to 1.5. And then in the next step, we divide 1.8 over 1.5, and this results, and then multiply by 10. And again, we have a situation in which the total amount of points is greater than the total amount of points that the facility can earn. 12 is greater than 10, so this facility has earned 10 points for classroom organization. And as a result, we again take the current year classroom organization points, 23.33, plus the previous year classroom organization points of 10, and which equals 33.3. And this is because the facility scored above the target in both years, they've maximized the amount of points that they can earn. And finally, we have instructional support. So we take the current year instructional support score of 2.56 minus the floor, which is equal to 0.56. And then we divide that by the difference between the target of 4 minus the floor of 2. So we then divide 0.56 by the difference between the target and the floor of 2, and then multiply that by 23.33 again. And this results in 6.53 instructional points in the current year. And then finally, we take the instructional support score in the previous year of 2, minus the floor of 2, and then, which equals 0. And then we divide that by the difference between the target of 4 and the floor of 2, which is 2. So in the final step, we divide 0 by 2, which is of course 0, and multiply it by 10, which is again 0. So this facility does not earn any points in the previous year because their score for instructional support was at the floor of 2. So then we take the current year points earned, 6.53, plus 0 in the previous year. That means that this facility earned 6.53 points for the instructional support domain. Now, in the last step, we take each of the points earned in all of the class domain and add them together. So to start, we take the emotional support score of 18.88 added to the classroom organization domain points of 33.3 plus the instructional support points of 6.53, which totals up to 58.571 points, meaning that this facility would earn a capital quality designation of quality.
We're now going to move into talking about next steps, and joining us is Michelle Reed, the Program Manager for Capital Quality and Child Care Resource and Referral for the OSSI Division of Early Learning.
Yes, so next steps, as Sarah mentioned earlier, the Capital Quality Framework specific rating calculation webinars will be posted at the OSSI Capital Quality website, listed here on this slide, once recorded. So it's available for multiple viewing for yourself and staff. And in order to ensure the maximum accuracy of the information and transparency with providers, we're providing a validation period. And these dates are seen here on the slide. Beginning September 16th through September 30th, 2019, providers have an opportunity to validate the 2018 and 2019 capital quality rating designations and other information that may be shared on the capital quality profile. An important date and time also to remember is 5 p.m. on September 30th, 2019. This is when submissions of concerns about accuracy of information or the calculation itself of the capital quality rating are due. On October 15, 2019, OSSI will respond no later than this date to all concerns raised. And keep in mind, it is critical that providers adhere to the September 30th deadline to submit concerns, since OSSI will not respond to concerns raised after September 30th. And validation is a passive process, so no submissions of concerns are required. However, we do encourage providers to review the information for accuracy. In addition to that, we have available technical assistance. So ensure right now that your contact information is accurate on file with OSSI. And if you do need to update your contact information, please contact your respective licensing specialist. And you're also able to sign up for technical assistance during the validation time period. Review the validation guide. This will be available next month, September. And also quality facilitators and education service monitors can support assigned facilities during the validation time period. So you can share your questions with those assigned. Attend webinars on the validation process and Quick Bake apps during the week of September 9th through 13th. So remember those dates and attend office hours. So that schedule is forthcoming, where you can meet with OSSI staff to discuss your very specific provider information.
We'll move into the question and answer portion of our webinar once the recording is concluded. You can also contact us at OSSI with any additional questions you may have at our Capital Quality email address, capitalquality@dc.gov, and a member of the Capital Quality team will respond to you. Thank you for joining us today.